What if I told you the secrets to success are hidden in the daily habits of world-class performers? Imagine unlocking the strategies used by billionaires, icons, and top achievers to excel in work and life. Today, we're diving into Tim Ferriss's Tools of Titans, a goldmine of wisdom from over 200 high achievers across various fields. In this book, Ferriss distills insights from interviews with these high performers. We're going to focus on 3 particularly impactful lessons. First, let's talk about Scott Adams. Scott Adams created Dilbert, a comic strip that's in over 2,000 newspapers across 65 countries and 25 languages. But Adams didn't start at the top. He was an office worker who woke up at 4 a.m. to draw cartoons before his day job. How did he persist and succeed? Adams shares 3 key insights. 1. Focus on systems, not goals. Adams wasn't chasing a specific goal. He was building a system. What's the difference? A goal is an endpoint. A system is about continuous improvement. Take Adams' blog writing. He didn't focus on the success of individual posts. Instead, he wrote regularly and experimented. He honed his craft over time. When the Wall Street Journal offered him a column, his system made him an instant success. 2. Listen to your body for inspiration. Adams has a strict morning routine. He even eats the same breakfast every day. Why? It clears his mind of yesterday's thoughts and fills it with new information. Here's the key. Pay attention to your body's reactions. Does something make you laugh, spike your adrenaline, evoke strong emotions? If so, that's likely good material. If your body reacts strongly, others will probably find it interesting too. 3. Master multiple skills. Adams suggests 2 paths to greatness. Become the best in the world at one skill, which is extremely difficult, or develop 2 skills to the top 25% level, which is more achievable. Combining 2 top 25% skills can lead to remarkable success. Adams isn't the world's best artist or writer, but his combination of drawing and joke-writing skills made Dilbert unique. Plus, his office experience gave him insight into office politics, Dilbert's central theme. Adams' advice is, strive to reach the top 25% in your chosen field. Then add 1 or 2 more skills. If you're not sure what to add, try public speaking. With practice, anyone can become a good speaker. Being a top 25% programmer and a top 25% public speaker can naturally position you as a leader among your peers. Interestingly, Mark Andreessen, a well-known entrepreneur, offers similar advice. He suggests college students aim for degrees in 2 distinct disciplines. Think engineering and an MBA, or law and economics. Now let's dive into the inspiring story of Jocko Willink, a former U.S. Navy SEAL commander. Willink's core belief is, true freedom comes from discipline. He insists you must take full ownership of your life. Willink's background is impressive. He served in the Navy SEALs for 20 years, including combat tours in Iraq. Later, he took charge of training all SEAL teams on the West Coast. After retiring, Willink co-founded a consulting firm. Their mission is to bring military leadership and management strategies to the business world. In 2015, his book, Extreme Ownership: How U.S. Navy SEALs Lead and Win, became a New York Times bestseller. Willink's approach centers on 3 key principles. 1. Discipline equals freedom. Many of us work hard every day, striving for success in our jobs and studies. Our battles are often metaphorical. But for someone like Willink, who's faced real combat, a different mindset emerges. Here's a striking example. When Tim Ferriss invited Willink to stay at his home for an interview, Ferriss's girlfriend noticed something unusual. Willink had been up reading for about 5 hours by 8 a.m. While 5 hours might be an exaggeration, Willink's habit is clear. He wakes up at 4:45 a.m., even in retirement. Why so early? Willink says it gives him a psychological edge over his enemies. He always imagines an enemy somewhere in the world, armed and waiting. This mindset has inspired many, leading to a 4:45 a.m. club on Twitter. Willink's motto, "Discipline equals freedom," might seem contradictory, but it's profound. To achieve true freedom, you must impose certain restrictions on yourself. Consider the paradox of choice. Too many options can overwhelm us, making it hard to choose and potentially reducing our happiness. There's also decision fatigue. Every decision we make drains our willpower, leaving us exhausted before we've accomplished anything. Some cases of depression in modern society might even stem from too much freedom. It's like playing a video game with cheat codes. After a while, the game loses its appeal. But when you're disciplined and follow a structured routine, you know what you should be doing. This paradoxically gives you a greater sense of control. True freedom, financial freedom, time freedom, freedom from illness and poverty requires discipline to achieve. 2. Take extreme ownership. Picture this: Navy SEALs preparing for major operations. The Admiral gathers squad commanders asking what they need. Some request helicopter training, others new boots or Wi-Fi. But Willink? He stands out. When asked, he simply says, "We're good, sir. No requests. Why? It's all about extreme ownership." Willink doesn't rely on last-minute requests. He handles issues himself. This approach builds trust. When he does ask for something, superiors know it's truly necessary. Here's a key insight. When people complain about lack of support, it's often their own fault. They haven't effectively communicated their needs. Taking responsibility is extreme ownership. 3. Enhance leadership through humility. What makes a great commander? Willink's answer might surprise you. It's humility. When overseeing SEAL training, Willink pushed teams to their limits. He observed how squad leaders responded, eliminating those who fell short. The surprising result? Most commanders failed not due to lack of skills or fitness, but poor leadership, specifically a lack of humility. But what does humility mean here? It's not about being overly deferential. It's about being open to others' input, maintaining an open mind and constantly learning. The training missions were designed for failure. Humble commanders would return, take responsibility and ask, "What did I do wrong?" They'd immediately note their shortcomings. Arrogant commanders, they'd blame others, never admitting fault. They acted as if they knew everything but couldn't even honestly self-assess. Willink practices self-assessment by observing himself from a third-person perspective. He asks himself, "Am I getting angry? Am I being too emotional? Am I overreacting?" It's like providing real-time feedback to yourself. This level of self-awareness requires maintaining a calm, observant voice in your mind, even when fully engaged. This is the highest level of humility. Let's explore the insights from Chris Sacca, a highly successful venture capitalist in Silicon Valley. Chris Sacca's net worth exceeds $1 billion. He's made brilliant early investments in companies like Twitter, Uber, Instagram, and Kickstarter. But here's the twist. Sacca doesn't live in Silicon Valley. He resides in a mountainous area of California. Why? Because he's an offensive player. Sacca divides life's challenges into two types, defensive and offensive. Defensive challenges are those given to you by others, tasks assigned by someone else. Offensive challenges, on the other hand, are the things you choose to do yourself, where you take the initiative. For example, your email inbox is essentially a list of defensive tasks. Each email represents something someone else wants you to do, and if you're constantly driven by your inbox, you're always on the defensive. Sacca prefers being on the offensive. In 2007, he moved from San Francisco to a remote mountain area. His goal is to avoid endless meetings and focus on what he wanted to do, learning and building valuable relationships. Sacca's home is in a scenic ski resort area, and he often invites business partners to visit on weekends. These visits result in deeper, more meaningful relationships. which were crucial to Sacca's successful investments in companies like Twitter and Uber. While venture capitalists need to know a lot of people, Sacca's approach now is to actively and selectively build high-quality relationships rather than passively meeting as many people as possible. The key word here is initiative. Sacca's been proactive since his early career. At Google, he'd attend important meetings even when not invited. Sometimes people were too polite to question his presence, but when someone did ask, Sacca would say, "I'm here to take minutes for you." He would then actually send his notes to the attendees. Sacca's childhood shaped his approach. His family rule was to intern every summer. These internships were divided into two phases, which Sacca calls the sweet and sour summer. Let's start with the sweet part. Sacca's father had a close friend who also happened to be his godfather. This godfather had a son, Sacca's godbrother, who worked as a lobbyist in Washington, D.C. at just 12 years old. Sacca interned as his godbrother's assistant, and this wasn't your typical summer job. Sacca played a significant role. Before each lobbying meeting, he'd help outline the key points they aimed to address. He condensed everything onto a single sheet of paper, helping his godbrother clarify his thoughts. Then he'd accompany him to meetings with politicians, soaking in the experience as his godbrother did the talking. By the age of 12, Sacca had already seen the many faces of Washington's political scene. He credits this internship with three major benefits: gaining valuable insights, building strong self-confidence, and most importantly, developing powerful storytelling skills by summarizing key points from their discussions. But the summer wasn't all smooth sailing. When Sacca returned home, his father arranged for him to do some hard labor with a construction crew. The boss, a friend of his father's, was instructed to give Sacca the dirtiest and most exhausting jobs, like spreading manure in people's yards. If Sacca didn't do well, the workers would yell at him or even hit him. This grueling work was likely intended to build character. But Sacca jokes that his father's arrangement of these two internships might have also been a warning. If you don't aim for a high-end job like a Washington lobbyist, you might end up doing construction work. These diverse experiences played a big role in developing Sacca's exceptional emotional intelligence. Now, let's talk about something lighter, Sacca's signature style. You've probably noticed that some Silicon Valley icons have a signature look, like Steve Jobs with his black turtleneck or Mark Zuckerberg with his T-shirts. Sacca's signature piece? An embroidered denim shirt. But why this specific choice? It turns out that Sacca once bought the shirt at an airport on his way to give a speech, and the response to his outfit was so positive that he went back and bought half the store's inventory. Since then, he's worn that shirt to all formal occasions. This shirt became a strong visual cue for the media, boosting his exposure effortlessly, so why not stick with it? Sacca's advice to young people is simple: always be genuine. Don't imitate others, be your most authentic self, and never apologize for it. If you're a bit quirky, embrace that quirkiness. This idea is echoed by another figure featured in Tools of Titans, Glenn Beck. Beck, a popular American show host, once accidentally revealed very private information during a radio show. He thought his career was over, but listeners actually welcomed it. The logic is that in today's world, where so many people speak from pre-written scripts, genuine voices stand out. Being like everyone else is boring. Authentic self-expression can actually become your unique selling point. Sacca's final piece of advice is master the art of storytelling. Venture capitalists don't just make decisions based on your numbers and charts, they're persuaded by your story. If your story resonates with them, they'll invest in your project. And if you notice an investor obsessively flipping through your data, they're not just doing calculations, they're looking for reasons in that data to believe in your story. And that wraps up our deep dive into Tools of Titans. Let's quickly recap the key takeaways from the three remarkable figures we discussed. 1. Focus on building a system rather than just chasing specific goals. 2. True freedom comes from discipline and taking full ownership of your life. 3. Prioritize tackling proactive challenges over merely reacting to external demands. By applying these insights to our own lives, we can strive to reach new levels of success and fulfillment, following in the footsteps of these titans in our own unique ways.